right, welcome to the Work in Progress podcast. Today we are here with Kiona Jé of J Studios, content marketing specialist. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Glad to have you here. All right, so first, so there's a plethora of specialties that you have, but first we want to go to your origin story. We want to backtrack a little bit. We want to go back to the very beginning. I guess we would say with your work in the government, or should we go back further than that?
Let's go back a little further.
Okay.
To when I started photography.
All right.
That'd be nice. Because that kind of ties into it'll marry together.
Okay.
Well, I think.
So how'd you get started in photography?
So I started shooting. I got my first camera when I was 9 years old.
Okay.
And at the time, I was a very quiet child. My family was extremely loud and robust, and I was very kind of reserved. And so when I got the camera, it was one of those ways where I could kind of be in the mix, but still feel like people couldn't see me a little bit, even though I know they could, but I felt like they couldn't see me. So it allowed me to get kind of deeper in the mix of things and just kind of capture all these nuances of my family and my friends and just record this history kind of thing. And I got really obsessed after that. Went right into high school doing photography. And it was in high school when I thought about J Studios. Okay. I thought, oh, okay, how could I turn this into not necessarily, at first I wanted to be a nonprofit. I had a lot of other artist friends, photographers and painters and things like that. And when we were in high school, we were figuring out, what do we want to do, when we grow up? And it's like, okay, well, artists don't make money. Back then there was the starving artist, right? I even got the starving artist award in high school. Wow. That was a thing. So it's
disrespectful.
So it was one of those things where it was like, okay, well, art's not going to make any money, so we got to figure something else out. So I was able to get into administrative assistant work pretty early, around 18, 19. And that's what got me into working for the government. And that was excellent. It was great, stable income. I learned a lot of things about business. I learned, being an administrative assistant, you pretty much have to wear so many hats and do all of this stuff in the background so everyone else can, look great and everything can carry on. And at first it used to frustrate me, people don't know my worth. Pop, 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 I'm in the background and they're just throwing all this crap at me. But as I got older, I was like, well, I learned how to do budget. I learned how to do presentations. I learned how to negotiate, all of this stuff that I use now for business. And it was like, okay, I'm really happy that I had this position. And it's actually a very powerful position. So I utilized that. And while I was at work, whenever I had some free time, I would start working on the administrative backside to my business. So if I was on my lunch break, I was at my computer doing my thing, getting J Studios together and, all of this stuff. And when I started actually getting gigs, I would pretty much do the same thing. I'd be like, okay, let me work 2 calendars. I got to get my boss's stuff out the way, but then I make sure I'm managing the J Studios calendar and I get to my events. And so I was pretty much doing J Studios part-time for a very, very long time. And it was like a side hustle at the time. All right, I'll come do your wedding for $500 or something. I didn't know any better. And also I was super new. So I was just moving around like that.
They probably here, take the money.
Right. And I'm like, yeah, $500. Then I get there and I'm like, holy, this is a lot of work. Oh my God. Why did I do that to myself? And then so the space I found myself in was in the media space. A lot of my friends, as you know, were musicians and wanted to rap and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I could take pictures and we could do flyers and all of this stuff. And that put me in the space to learn more about kind of marketing and what it takes to get people in front of everyone else, right? To tell their story and get them out there in the crowd and have them stand out in in a market that has a whole bunch of people in it already.
So you had no formal background in marketing, no school or nothing. You just learned it on the go.
I just learned it on the go. So when the neighborhoods that I grew up in, there were a lot of people that had many jobs and they were all sales related. You had the candy lady, you had the, the babysitter, everybody was doing something. So I was always selling things and finding a way to make money because that's just how it was in the area I grew up in and that's what needed to be done. So I kind of learned how to understand people and see a need and then fill it because that's how I was going to make the money. It's like, oh, okay, so a lot of you guys out here need someone to watch your kid. I got you, I like littles. I'll go hang out with them and teach you some things if you pay me. Arts and craft, need somewhere for the kids to go. They can come here with me at the school and we'll do projects and stuff for a certain amount of dollars an hour. So I kind of learned that just on the go in the neighborhood and just growing up. And people would say like, "Oh, you'd be really good at selling things," and I'd be like, that sounds weird." Because when I thought of sales and marketing, I thought of like snake oil salesman, like forcing people to buy something they didn't want, and I didn't see myself doing that. So I never really thought about investing in my education in marketing at the time because I was like, maybe that's not for me. So I stuck with photography and working in the media space, doing the part-time thing. And then I want to say 2018 is when I started thinking about how can I expand. I was still doing everything part-time, and I was like, okay, the goal eventually is to leave my job and do this full-time. I knew that for a long, when I was a kid, I knew I wanted to be a businesswoman. I didn't know what that meant. I just knew I wanted to wear a suit and I wanted to be in an office and I wanted to build it and have my name on it.
What age did you realize
I was
that?
like probably like 10,
Okay.
11. I was like, yeah, businesswoman sounds like she
Mhm.
makes a lot of
A lot
money.
of money.
I'm going to do that.
Briefcase, running around
Yeah,
with
a
the
little
briefcase.
briefcase
Cup of
on,
coffee in the other hand.
little
Yeah.
thing in my ear. I was like,
Right.
yeah, I could do that. So
The old Bluetooth.
oh, woo. I miss the era of the phone in the pocket. I mean,
Uh-huh.
in the little clip with the. I felt
Oh,
so
yeah.
cool.
The big
You couldn't tell me
Bluetooth.
nothing.
Right. Like, who they talking to?
Right.
Talking to themselves?
It's a great time. But yeah, so that's kind of how I always saw myself. So in 2018, I was like, okay, how are we going to scale this thing? I've done enough research to know that I can't rely on just one thing for my business, like photography. And at the time, I didn't understand how to stand out. And photography has always been a saturated market as far as I'm concerned, but it was very saturated. So I was like, okay, how can I tie my marketing experience from when I worked with musicians? How can I tie that into my photography? And so as I was doing research, I found out about the term like branding, and I found out about inbound marketing, and I was like, wait a minute. This sounds like something I can work with. This sounds like it could marry those two things together. So with branding, it focuses on the person, right? Their story and what it is that they're good at and how they're going to help people. And so you can do that with photography, you can do that with video, but also it requires a little bit of marketing so that you can make sure that what you're putting out there to the audience is actually what you want to share, and you put it out there in a way that's going to bring clients or bring viewers or whatever you're looking for into your fold, into your business. And so I just started going crazy studying just marketing from that standpoint. I went to HubSpot, is like a CRM management company. They do like everything for like branding and marketing. They have classes, and I went and I took an inbound marketing class, and I was like, yo, this is amazing. With inbound marketing, so there's like the old school way of marketing. I forget the term, maybe whatever, outbound or the outside marketing, right? But inbound marketing focuses on the person that you're serving. And it says, okay, what does this person need? What are they looking for? And how can I help them get there?
Okay.
Now, ultimately, I want them to get there with me, right? Like if I help solve their problem, I'd like them to purchase with me. I'd like them to buy with me, but that's not what I'm focused on. What I'm focused on is making sure that I know what they want and I'm being helpful in some sort of way. They may not even buy with me or go any further with me, but at least I know they're educated on the thing and now they got help to make a proper purchase. And I was like, yo, I can do that, because that ties the people, it ties people into the process and not just, oh, I have this thing, I want to make this money, you should buy this. That made me super uncomfortable.
You were doing it more from a position of serving versus, like you said, the old snake oil salesman, where they're thinking just about themselves, and I can give you this, but they're just trying to get money. Like you were doing it the other way, where it's like, I'm serving someone, I know I'm going to reap the benefits of it, but I'm not coming off as just,
and it's beneficial for all parties.
Making it beneficial for the person I'm serving first.
Yep. And that felt better for me, because I also, so when I was 18, I started doing like network marketing type of businesses.
Okay. I hear
All
pyramid.
been there.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Before, I think it was called pyramid and other stuff, and then it changed, and then this and that, and then boom, network marketing. But yeah, so I did life insurance, I did vitamins.
What about Cutco? You ever do that one?
Oh no, I didn't do Cutco. Was
You don't
it
remember
the
Cutco?
knives?
Yeah. So
Oh, I went to a meeting and I was like, I don't want to do
same
this.
here, because they send you a letter in the mail. It's like, hey, do you want to make $21? And you're like 17 at the time. It's like, sure, I want to make all that money.
$21.
Yeah, it's like $21 an hour. So
20 an hour. Oh,
20
21.
hours.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm 17. Like, sure, I want to make that money. So I go to this place and I think it was St. Charles, Waldorf, or somewhere. And it was like, okay, so you go inside and you start seeing your friends here. You're like, say, hey, what you doing? Same thing you doing here. I want to make
Y'all
this
all
money.
got roped in.
So the guy comes out, before you ask any questions, please hold all your questions to the end.
Oh man.
And he said, we're selling knives. I was like,
I'm guilty because as he's on the console, he can attest. To this day, they feel like I roped them into something similar to years ago. I think we've all been there.
Oh, yeah.
Where the friends invite you and you pull up, you see all these fancy cars in the driveway,
Yeah.
and then you go in and they get you, and you're
Yep.
like,
They sell you the
okay.
dream.
Yeah, they sell you the dream, and they
Mhm.
say you can buy the dream
Yeah.
for $49.99.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, yeah, I did a lot of those.
Okay.
A lot of those.
A
And
lot of them.
I
Okay.
learned a lot. I found the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I learned about mindset shift and changing your mindset. I learned about sales and marketing and being your own business.
Mhm.
So I learned a lot of stuff from the network marketing.
So you took
circuit.
something good from it.
Yeah, I took a lot from it. And they work if you work it. But I learned for me that I'm good at selling things that I actually enjoy, that I use, because I'm not selling at this point. I'm just sharing information and I'm excited about it. And boom, people are like, all right, excellent. So I was like, none of that stuff was for me.
Yeah.
Learned a lot though.
Okay.
Might even look into a travel MLM one of these days, just because that just pairs well with what I'm doing.
Okay.
But yeah, so I did that, and I forgot where I was going. I apologize. I lost track because I got too excited. But so I've done network marketing. So I learned all these different sales, like I guess ideologies and just like mindset shift. And so when I started studying to get my certification for inbound marketing, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to focus on figuring out what people need, right? Like if they actually need the service that I'm offering.
Okay.
And if they do, let me make sure they're as educated as possible before they make a purchase. So that way I can at least be helping. Now, if that help turns into money, excellent.
Great.
If it doesn't, that's fine. I've helped people more than I could if I'm just talking one-on-one online on the online space. I can help a bunch of people. And so I was okay with that. And it was a great way to tie in my photography, because then I could do brand photography, which then could turn into, let's sit down and talk about like your marketing strategy, how we're going to use these photos. And that gave me that inbound marketing piece.
So at this point, you're still working your 9 to 5.
Yep.
And your side hustles during the 9 to 5 or outside of the 9 to 5, you're trying to get your business up and running in parallel.
Yep. So I had about 2 or 3 jobs. I had J Studios, I had the government, and then I was doing Uber and Lyft and all of that stuff on my lunch break at night, 3 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
I was going in, okay? Just all of that, just trying to build something great. Because I'm like, if I'm going to leave my job, I'm going to need a little
what
something.
What age is this at the time?
This was 2018 is when I started the branding piece, like studying that part, the marketing piece. And also around the same time where I had all those jobs and I was just pretty much going back and forth. So I found myself working for an event company, and that was a sweet spot right there. That kind of changed things for me, because I got to see how much money it was in the event space for photography. I'd never played in that space seriously, before. I had always did like portraits or, when I worked in the media space, but I was like, oh, okay. Excuse me. There's a lot of money to be made here. So I was doing pretty good as a contractor working with this company. And it got to a point where sometimes they would need me to work on days where I was supposed to be at my job. So I was like, okay, well, how much do I make an hour? How much do I make for this job? I'm calling out today. And I'm going to go take this job right here.
And you were still getting paid from your other job from your time off, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Sometimes it depends. Contractors don't get a lot of the companies I work for, we didn't get a lot of leave. And if we did, we had to be there for like 5 years or something. So wherever I could, I would use it. But if I had to take off, I was like, that's fine, because this money is more money than what I would be getting today. So it is what it is.
Okay.
And then so it started getting a little hectic, where I was like, okay, I'm a little stressed out because I'm getting more photography work. And I still got to be at work.
That's a good
You know,
problem.
yeah, it's a good problem to have. And I was like, I don't make enough to leave just yet. I was like, but I feel it. Like, I want to leave. And I've wanted to leave back in the government before I worked at NASA. When I was working at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, I was thinking about leaving then.
Okay.
And it's like somehow they knew and paid me more. It's like they felt it. And every time I was ready to go,
Suck you back in, right?
yeah, I just got more money. And I was like, well,
Stay a little
I have
longer.
such a comfortable life.
Yeah.
You know, let me just stay a little longer.
Right.
And I was like, all right, Kiona, there's a pattern here. Are you ever going to leave? Because they're going to keep probably paying you more. You're pretty damn good at what you do. Are you going to leave? Do you really want this? And so I think it was in January, but whatever that furlough was that happened when Trump was in office.
January
couple weeks.
2019.
Yeah, it was long.
That was January 2019, I believe.
I think so, yeah. So this is like my second, maybe third furlough at this point. And contractors don't get paid during furlough. Unless you got a really good company that negotiates some stuff. But most of the time, we don't get paid. So this one was pretty long, and I was like, yo, I got to do something. So I was like, okay, let me call the event lady, let her know, hey, I got more openings, hook me up. Let me get really serious with J Studios. Let me look for my first like marketing client. And I was just kind of just grinding it out with the lift and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, I managed to carry myself through these 2 or 3 weeks
Good test.
by myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, work 5 jobs. I've been dramatic. Work 5 jobs. But be able to do what you want to do and have a little bit of flexibility in your schedule, or go back to this job where, you know, you enjoy yourself, but you're not getting the movement, the upward movement that you're looking for. And I was like, I think I could do it. I was like, I needed this furlough to know that I could handle it on my own and still, you know, pay my bills and stuff. And that was it. Well, when we came back from that furlough, I was like, little do they know I'm about to be out.
Did they dangle another carrot? And
so they did.
Oh,
a juicy
wow.
one, a
Okay.
government position. Now, listen, I've been looking for a government to get into the government the entire time I worked there as a contractor. I started, I don't know, 20 maybe when I started in the, I can't remember now, but I was pretty young. And the whole purpose of me getting in, going the contractor route, was to get picked up. Because literally right before I got in, the government was picking up everybody. I just heard stories about a girl, they picking up everybody. Just get on in. And I get in and I'm like,
Close
okay,
the door
what's
front of
going
you,
on?
like, nah,
Right.
That's it.
And so I had plenty of opportunities over the years, plenty of opportunities to get government positions, and all of these weird things would get in the way. I would have a boss that's like, hey, I saw you apply for this. I know you're a good fit, but I really can't afford to lose you right now. I need you here. You know, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so these people, they ain't really here for me like that. I'm here for them, but they not here for me like that. They don't want me to grow.
You're just a number.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, it's time. So when I wanted to leave, and then, you know, they did kind of bring up, okay, we got this position we've been kind of putting together that you can slide right into, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't want to fall for this carrot again. I need to go. And I'm going to deviate just a bit. One thing I noticed when I left and I started working for myself full time, I learned that when something is for you, the door is not going to be that hard to open. Sometimes it might fly open and people might pull you in. Like it just picks up and it takes off. And I'm like, I spent all those years trying to climb this corporate ladder and get into the government. And it's like, obviously that wasn't for me. If I tried everything and I gave my all and had moments where people was like, yeah, we want you, but then another person would come in and interject and go, no, I need her or whatever. I was like, okay, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be going this route. And that's why it's so difficult. And once I changed and shifted over to just doing what I actually wanted to do, what my desires were, it was easy. I mean, there's been crazy challenges along the way, but I've never had to fight to get into anything. It's just, I'm in there. The person that I'm looking for pops up and go, hey, guess what? I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, oh, perfect. So am I. It flows. So when you're going in that right direction, things flow. People come to you. It's just, it happens in a way that you're like, yo, why is this so easy right now? And it's like, because you're supposed to be here. You're supposed to be doing this. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
No,
I've been on a
did.
whole
No,
thing.
no, it's fine. That's fine. That's fine. So going from there, that's 2019. So you went through the furlough. It kind of gave you a test run to see, hey, I can actually pay my bills off of this. So then we get to 2020 and the pandemic gets here. So how did you weather that storm? Well, first before I get to the pandemic, so okay, backtrack a little bit. So we're going through 2019. Did anything else change within your job at the time, or before the pandemic? Was there anything else, any other events that happened before that?
So before the pandemic, things was looking pretty nice. I left my job in 2019. They were fantastic.
What month did you leave?
July. It was supposed to be on my birthday,
All right.
but I didn't. It ended up being the day before my birthday. I was like, I'm not spending my damn birthday here. Even though I loved the people I worked with, loved them. They gave me a great going away party. It was emotional, fantastic people, but I just knew I had to do this for myself. So it was July 24th. And then I met with a few of my friends that were entrepreneurs, and they had successful businesses. They've been working on their own for a few years. And I'm like, okay, let me sit you guys down, take you out to lunch, take you out to dinner, and just like pick your brain and see what's up. Because I'm about to make this move. And I was like super nervous about it. And so I got so much amazing advice, and I took what I could. I had a little nest egg, not a big one, but a little bit saved away. And I stepped it up with the events. Excuse me. The lady that was operating that company, I was like, hey, I'm here full time. Let's go. What you got for me? And I was like, okay, so I was making good money on that end. I had a few shoots lined up, and everything was looking really sweet. Calendar was booked out. I was like, okay, making content and stuff. Had my little certificate from HubSpot. I was like, we're doing it. We're getting it done. It was sweet. Then the pandemic hit, and then I was like, all right. So February, I think I had a minis promotion.
Okay.
Where you can get a brand shoot, kind of like a shorter version of a full brand shoot for like $99 or something like that. And I was like, okay, cool. All I need is like 4 people to come through and I can handle X, Y, Z, just kind of calculate the money part of it all. And I got a few people signed up. And I think 2 people, we got a chance to do the shoot. And I was so excited. I had a studio that I was renting out. It was beautiful. And next thing you know, the whole COVID, the announcement about the shutdown and stuff. And I'm like, oh, snap. This is it. Phone going off. Hey, yeah, I can't make it out. I'm like, I feel you, bro. I don't even know what's happening right now. I get it. Don't come out here. Right. So calendar empty. Events. So the events that I was working were all like big events, like Navy Federal, Police Week, corporate, big things. Big money events. So they was not playing with the COVID. Everything got shut. They were like, absolutely not. We're not bringing people out. We don't,
So you're slowly seeing things falling off your calendar and you're like,
yep.
What am I going to do?
Yep. And I'm like, wait, but the plan was to have this, and this, so I can pay my bills. So I think the government had the unemployment where everyone could be on unemployment. That was excellent. That helped out a lot. Because I had already left my job, I couldn't really get like unemployment from that. It had to be based off of what I was already bringing in, which was not as fancy. But that extra 400 was enough to like keep me going. I had my Uber and whatever I had to do.
So backtracking real quick, I know you said you left your job, right? How was the support from like your family perspective? Because you already know that you get the government job, everybody tells you stay in that government job. It's comfortable, it's reliable, but in your head you're like, I can do better. So how was that support from a family perspective when you took that leap of, I'm going to work for myself? How was that?
I'm pretty sure they thought I was crazy. I'm not going to lie to you. They probably thought something was wrong with me. They're like, you did all this work. You got this good government job. And you finna leave to do what? And you're not even making the amount of money. Like they couldn't really see the vision. And even now, I don't think that my family fully sees the vision. But back then, I took offense to it a little bit. And now, after just like learning and understanding the mindset of many different people, I'm like, they care for me and they love me, so they just want me to be comfortable and safe. And that, working the government and retiring is the way that they know how to do that. And it's a great way. It works for many, many people, but that just wasn't for me. And I had to get past the fact that they couldn't see that and just keep pushing. Because I'm like, that's all right, because y'all gonna be right up here spending these millions with me. And I'm gonna be like, remember when y'all thought I was crazy? Ain't you glad I did this? Like I'm gonna.
So use it as motivation. Use it as fuel.
Yeah, use it as fuel to go.
Instead
Okay.
of getting down on myself, I'm gonna take their words and just say, I'm gonna use this as motivation to show them otherwise.
Right. That there's another way. I've seen, and luckily, thanks to the internet, we have so many people that you can follow and watch and understand that have done it over and over and over again. So I'm like, well, if it's people out here doing it, I know I'm capable of doing it. And so having that representation was good. And so, that helped. But they definitely, I think they're a little supportive now. And they be like, oh, you're doing this. And, oh, you're going to do an interview. Like they're kind of seeing that I'm serious about this thing. But I still don't think they fully see the vision just yet.
And like you said, I think it's a generational thing. They're accustomed to staying at a job for 30 plus years, getting the retirement. And we saw that the government's not bulletproof. The furlough happened multiple times. People were out of work. Contractors were out of work. So we thought we were bulletproof, especially being the DMV area, but that was not true.
Right.
A lot of people took hits.
And you know what I saw too, when that furlough happened, because the perception was always, people with government jobs, well paid, good benefits. And I was shocked. Like I went to a grocery store and I saw it on TV and there was so many people in line for food. I was like, oh, my perception was
like food banks, right?
Yeah, that they had money saved for, and it was like to see that a lot of people were living literally check to check. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Most people, Yep. One check away from being out, being on the street.
Or one job away too.
One
job away.
Yep.
So okay, so the pandemic is here now. You're in the midst of it. What's going through your mind? Are you like, when is this going to, this will be over in a couple weeks, then we'll have these events rescheduled. So how are you preparing for the long haul? Now that we knew it wasn't 2-3 weeks out and that this was going to probably be going on for a year, 2 years, what went through your mind? Were you thinking, did it cross your mind like I need to go back and maybe possibly get another 9 to 5 just so I'm stable, or should I just ride the wave and see where it takes me? Like, take us through that. Take us through what you were going through in your mind at that time.
So in the beginning, I was like, okay, I'm just here for the ride. Let's see how this goes down. And I thought, okay, well, everyone's at home. I need to look into digital products. That was always in the back of my mind because I knew that making money online that I don't have to be present for it was or is still a goal of mine because I want to travel. I want to travel the world, eat a whole bunch of delicious food, and figure out where I want to live and raise my family. So it was in the background, but pandemic pushed it to the front, and I was like, okay, we need to think about these digital products. How can we still work with people? And luckily, I had started building my marketing side of the business, and so I was able to reach out to people, and I got into social media management and social media marketing. I started looking at my own pages, and I was using it for business. But I'm like, I get pretty good engagement. I get pretty good comments and things like that.
Was this Instagram at the time?
Instagram, yeah, was what I was focused on. And so I would have people that were like, hey, I'm having a hard time with this social media thing. I don't want to write these captions. And I'm like, I love writing captions. I love looking at analytics. Let me do it for you, So I had to set up kind of like a pricing for that. And that's when I started social media managing a few of my friends' accounts. And that turned out to be a lot of fun. I also got some independent contractor work where I was like on LinkedIn, Indeed, whatever, looking for social media positions and stuff like that I could work from my house and work on accounts. And so that was great. I was still super new, so the money was kind of coming in a little bit. But what I loved about it is that I could work from home, and the pandemic didn't stop that. We could have our meetings and things. So that's actually what kept me afloat, and unemployment and Uber and 1,000 other things. But all of that kept me going. And so that's when I realized how powerful this marketing piece really was, and being able to do something in an online space that doesn't require me to be in person. So I kind of poured everything into it. Also I got a few weddings, like intimate weddings throughout that time too. That was super helpful. So that's kind of where I was initially, and I was chugging along, but as the money got smaller and smaller, let me backtrack a bit. So when I knew I was going to leave my job, one of the things I did outside of interviewing people and saving up my nest egg is I left my apartment. I got my first apartment when I think I was like 17. So I've been on my own for a long time, and I was like, okay, you about to go into this space and the money is not guaranteed. You need to downsize like significantly so that you can, use the money that you saved a lot better. So it's like, I'll rent a room. And so I was renting a room, and it was okay. I enjoyed it, but it was a hard little reality check. Like, oh my God.
Hard transition.
I'm in my 30s, like I just had this whole thing that I had to get over and process and go through in order to be okay with it. But it was worth it because I was like, I'll do whatever it takes to get this thing off the ground. So I was just rolling with it. I was like, all right, digital marketing, independent contracting work wherever I can get it, and training. This free time means that I can train and get better at my craft, and then also explore the world. I learned how to fish. I was out going on hikes and just really tapping into a space of like peace and finding that balance between finding the proper work-life balance. It was actually pretty sweet for a while before things got a little ugly, but it was pretty sweet, and I enjoyed it. And I was like, this is what I want. I want to be able to wake up and just go out for a hike and go fishing, but there's still money being made in the background. So that gave me a little bit of a taste of what I wanted and what I was going to be working and striving towards. But as things started to get harder, unemployment was no longer going on. So I really had to see how much money I was bringing in, which wasn't that much. And I moved around a bit, and then I was like, okay, I found myself like living with my family. And I was like, okay, things are getting really, really tough now. But I kept, I'm still doing my videos. I'm still doing my thing. I'm still getting clients, just not as consistent as I need them to be to like get my own apartment kind of thing.
Now, when you were living back with your family, were they like, I told you so?
Oof. So they weren't like that, but it was like undertones of you need to get yourself together, like you need to get it together. You're too old for this, So it was hard. I had to do a lot of breaking down and building back up just for things like emotionally and just kind of how I saw money, how I saw status and space, how I saw things. Like I had to learn how to downsize significantly. I didn't realize I spent money on a whole bunch of things that I don't even need because I didn't need to care about that when I was working in the government. The money was there.
Yeah.
I had to care that I was wasting it on stupid stuff that I wasn't using. But when things got tough, I had to reevaluate my life and go, yo, I've been doing things a little backwards. You know, I need to do things a lot better. And it was tough, you know, just kind of being in that space because it's like you got your mom like, hey, you know, you need to get a job. You know, I know what you want to do. I hear you out here going live,
Can't
but
stay here forever.
right, where the money at? You know, so there was that time where I was like, okay, because I had made this promise. I said, all right, God, I'm gonna leave my job and I'm gonna do this thing. The moment I don't have money for rent, I'm going back. That was it. And I got, I think like two years in. I was like, okay, 30 days, level up. Let's go. We got another 30 days, baby. And then I came to a moment where that didn't happen. And I didn't have, and this was when I was renting space. So, you know, my room was much smaller. And I was like, okay, I guess we said we was going, because I was holding on. I was like, I don't want to go back into an office. I'm used to working on a go and this and that.
Once you get out there,
it's hard
and you
to go back.
And you do your thing and you can see that you can make your own schedule. It's probably almost impossible mentally for somebody to break down and say, I'm going to go
clock back in.
Yeah, go clock back in.
Yeah. Oh, it was hard. I was like, okay, Kiona, is this pride talking? Like, you need to figure this out. So I went and I applied for some social media positions, some marketing positions. And that was a lot of fun because I was never in position to do that before because I didn't have the experience or the like formal education to do so. So now with the experience that I got and the certifications that I had, I was like, I can do this. I can go into the workplace, but I can still do social media. And I went there, had some really great interviews, didn't get any of the jobs. It was only like 3 of them because I was dragging along because I didn't really want to do it. But but I didn't get hired. But I'm happy that I did that because sitting at the table with other marketing specialists and other people who work for larger companies who've been doing this longer with college education and being able to hold my own in a conversation with them and have this back and forth and use, you know, the different jargon and stuff, that let me know that, okay, you know what you're doing, girl. You need to do this, be more serious about pushing it, and you probably need to raise your prices. So that helped me see like, oh no, we all right. We can charge what everybody else is charging.
So you got a
here.
chance to see that there's originally you thought there was a ceiling on what I can charge for this service, but then that gave you clear validation to say, oh wow, I can actually okay.
Yep, I can charge this. I know what I'm, know what I'm talking about, and all of this stuff. So that was super helpful. So that was the time where I thought about going back. And it's funny because my best friend, he's been working on his own for a long time. And he told me, he said, all right, Coops, you're going to go through phases. You know, it's a whole thing. He said, and one of those phases is you're going to be thinking about going back. He said, if you got to do it, but just push through. And that moment happened. I called him. I said, yep. I had the moment. I was a little upset at myself. Like, why would you leave NASA? And then I was like, no. That's fear talking. We're, no more lack mindset over here. It's hard. That's understandable. Time to get creative. Right. How can we get out of it? And that's just what I've been doing since then. And it's been working. So part of that creativity was to get my real estate license because I knew that Redfin had 2 positions. They had one for, I don't know, and this is fine. Redfin has 2 positions. They have a lead agent, which is your traditional agent position.
Hold on, before we get to the real estate part, I want to go a little deeper in first.
Oh, okay.
We'll get there, but before that, so the pandemic was pretty much like a proving ground. The second stage, the second proving ground outside of the furlough. The furlough was just a taste, a 30-day proving ground.
Yes.
The pandemic was multi-year proving ground. It's like, so that kind of, I'm pretty sure told you like, well, if I can make it during the pandemic, when this is over,
you can stand on 2 feet.
Yeah, I can go 1,000 miles an hour pretty much.
Yes.
So being that, okay, I guess at the time, technically 2021, it was still pandemic. How did you progress through that once the pandemic kind of subsided and things kind of opened back up, more events? You say you picked up more weddings and things like that. Was there a point in time where that fear started to kind of die off a little bit?
Oh, yeah. The fear of, because I started to realize that, I just went through trial by fire and I'm still here. So at this point, nothing really frightens me that much. And what I started to do is connect with other people who maybe went through similar things, but were also creators and wanted to collaborate on stuff. I'm like, we got all this free time. We might as well do something cool, create some art, do something. And that was a lot of fun because I started to find community and started to really connect with other people. And I think because we all went through the pandemic, it was easier for people to connect with each other because we all had an understanding that. I'm sorry. I was about to curse.
No,
I was.
good. No, say what you want to say.
We all had an understanding that shit sucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it sucked.
Mhm.
And that was kind of like a good conversation starter and a good way for everyone to kind of put down their egos and go, okay, yeah, we all run businesses and we all got our own things, but we can kind of come together and collaborate and work on stuff together. And that was really good for the morale. That was good for the spirit. It was just, it really helped kind of get me to keep pushing, keep moving things along.
I think that's, I don't mean to cut you off. I think that's a good benefit of the creative arts space, because a lot of industries, like in real estate, a lot of people are very competitive versus one another. But I think it's different when you're talking about multimedia, because it's not really, I look at it more so as a share space where there's an artist over here and then one over here, and they finding a way to work together. Like I would give an example when it comes to like shooting weddings. I may have a wedding and I may say, oh, I need a second shooter for this date. Then I have a pool of other people that I can choose from. They may have their own company, but they're second shooting with me, and then vice versa. So you always have this revolving pot of connections you have. So that kind of like fills up your calendar as well. So I'm pretty sure, like you said, when you had connected with all these folks, you got the chance to see that, hey, they got their own thing going, but we can work together. There's no ego involved.
Yes.
So that's the beauty I like of the space of media as well, multimedia.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. It's excellent. Everyone looks out for each other, and it's like, because we all know that the market is saturated. It doesn't matter what you're doing. So it's like, just have fun.
Yep.
Come together and figure out what you can create.
Right.
As a group, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you get way further when working together versus, no, I want my name on everything, the ego and all of that. You pretty much just shut yourself out from everybody then.
Yep, absolutely. And that helped me realize that I needed help in my business. I was like, okay, one person can't run this thing. There's too many things that need to be done. And I'm not an expert at all of these things, or I'm not even that great at some of these things. So I'm like, I need to be able to bring people in. So I just started thinking about how I can bring people into my team and get help with certain things. But I didn't have the budget for it. So I was like, okay, go back in the day, do the bartering system. I can manage your social media, or I can take these photos for you, or something like that. If you can help me with this particular task and that task, which you're good at. And that worked for a while, and it was really helpful. Also a great thing that just kind of made me appreciate community and being able to do something like a bartering agreement. I was like, oh, if only the world was like this. You could just go, hey, I'm good at this and you're good at that. Let's just do that. But yeah, so that was good. I learned a lot, made a lot of connections, had a lot of fun, and created some dope content. Like, I spent a lot of time just taking photos and videos of whatever moved me, and it was cool. It's a good space.
So at what point did the business actually start taking off and you were able to, get back into your own apartment? At what point did that take place?
So it started picking up, actually, I want to say probably 2022 is when things started getting back to what I would consider some sort of normal. And everything was going well. My calendar was getting booked back up again. Events was picking up. They weren't as big, and they still aren't. Like, some of the events now that I do, they were like 500 plus people, media circuit all over the place. It's like 80 people now. But that might be just what it is going forward. But on the marketing side, and the branding side, like doing brand photography and stuff, that picked up. And it was excellent. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm doing what I want to do. I wake up in the morning, I go to a photo shoot, and then I go shoot a live at night. Like, this is life.
And it's something different every day. It's a different person you're working with. It's always a different experience.
Yes. I was like, I'm living. And then one of my friends reached out, and he was like, hey, I want to get some people together and and put together a film group. And we just shoot a movie or two and music videos. And I was like, what? That sounds excellent. I need to get better at my camera skills, because I was really looking into film. I still love photography, but with film, I can tell a story in so many different ways. I have more aspects that I can add to it, and that just thrills me. So I was like, this is a perfect time for me to kind of work on that, especially like I always wanted to shoot a movie. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And so I think it was like 5 of us at the time. We're probably like 6 deep now. Brian's a part of the group, Fastlane Films. And it was fun. And I was like, okay, this I can do. So then I started to shake my mind around what I wanted the business to look like, because I'm like, okay, I'm enjoying the filming aspect and I'm enjoying the photography aspect and just being around other creators, other artists. And I was like, okay, maybe I should just focus on creating content, because that way I can film, I can photograph. And if I'm reaching out to content creators, then I get to be in that space of other artists where we get to bounce interesting ideas off each other. And so that happened around 2022 as well. And I was like, oh, wait, the business is about to change again. Hold on, the service is about to change a little bit. And so that was fun. I had a bit of a break. I had like some personal life stuff just popping off left and right. So I had to kind of shut things down a little bit, because I'm sure you guys may have run into this, but like your business and your personal life, if one thing is all, if your personal life is all crazy, it's going to spill into that business life and start affecting stuff. And I'm like, business is doing so great, but personal life is, down here. And I'm like, oh gosh, another trial, let's do this. So I had to take a halt, because what I didn't want is for things to start affecting the business side. And I could see how some of those things would do that, especially because I didn't have my own space anymore. Okay. So I was like, okay, let's put a little halt. Contracts are ending. That's cool. Perfect timing. I did my last couple of gigs. I was like, okay, Kiona, we got to hold this off real quick, because we need to get this together, because I worked too hard to build this beautiful thing up to have it smashed to bits. So I was like, all right, focus on the personal life. Did that. And the real estate side picked up, and I was able to move out on my own after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were doing the real estate to keep afloat during that time of personal trial?
I was actually trying to get my license during that time.
Okay.
Let me tell you, that real estate license is no joke.
Really?
Oh my goodness. It's like on a list of
people make it seem like it's child's play.
I wish. Well, good for them.
I've heard people say that, oh yeah, they got their real estate license. It's easy. I'm like,
Good for them, because it took me a bunch of tries. I have a whole story, but it will take who knows how many hours if I tell it now.
Did you go through a boot camp for that, or are you self-taught?
I took a class.
Okay. Yeah.
The CE shop had something, and I paid for it a while ago, like during the pandemic, and it took me a while to actually take the class, but it was like expiring. I was like, oh shit, I don't want to lose my money. So I took the class. I think it's like 60 hours you have to do. Then you have to take an exam, a proctored exam. And then after that, you have to go take like the actual state exam, state and national test. And that was tough. It took me many tries. You have to pay for it each time. At this point, my money like super small.
What was the price?
It was like $45.
But it adds up.
It adds up. I took it 6 times.
You did? Wow.
6. And my money was like, because I had to halt, a lot of stuff, because I was at the time, it was me and Brian, right? So it's like, okay, I can't do any of this stuff, and my personal life is going crazy, and there's, we don't have anybody else, so I got to shut it all down. So money's getting smaller and smaller, and my last $45 is that I had. I was gonna have to, and I was gonna borrow it if I had to, but I was gonna borrow it if I didn't. But I ended up passing.
Wow!
And that
put
me
Hail Mary on this one.
Oh my goodness! God was like, I got you.
Kudos to you, because most people. It's one thing when you fail a test, it just hits you mentally. Oh. So it's like you fail, you walk out, and you're like, man, that whole day sucks.
Yep.
And for you to go back multiple times and keep going, that kudos to you on that.
Thank you. Yeah. It was one of those moments. So my word for today is surrender. There's a long story behind it, but it happened last night through meditation when I got that particular word. And that time, me doing that test over and over again, and that last time was all about surrender. It was like, look, you got to stop putting so much pressure on yourself. You just got to let this thing flow. You have the information. You just got to just go out and do it and trust that it's going to be what it's going to be. And I passed. And so the goal was to jump right into go to Redfin. Boom. Start working for them. Make this money. Get my own apartment. They was like, oh, we ain't got no positions open. I was like, oh, my God. But it says right here online.
Oh, it's a roadblock.
Open. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, okay. That was my whole plan right there. Guess I got to figure something else out. So, I kept moving with just kind of putting life back into the business, just kind of building myself back up on social media. And then I ended up getting a position at Redfin. So working that is pretty much the main income right now, and then all of the J Studios money, I make a solid attempt to just put back into the business because I really need a virtual assistant, and I need people.
So you're just investing right now.
Yeah, I'm just all the money. I'm just sitting on it because I'm like, I gotta pay people. I can't do this by myself, especially what I'm trying to do. Like the ideas I have in my head, I could get it out a lot faster if I have people and other professionals to work with me as opposed to trying to do it all myself.
So that's one of your goals for 2023 is to scale the business, get employees, and just expedite everything.
Yes. I'm trying to super level, man. Like I'm trying to pay for one of these $10,000 mentorship programs. I already got a few in mind. I'm trying to, really just get to a space where I can move a little bit faster so that I can get to the next level that I want to be at, so I can move on to the next business idea. I got a lot of things brewing up in here, so.
Okay. So, getting into the real estate a little bit. So, what was your motivation for getting into real estate?
So for me, always wanted to be like a millionaire. I grew up, my family have a lot of money, so I'm sure everybody probably want to be a millionaire.
You said they do have a lot of money?
They didn't have a lot of money. So I was like, well, I know what I want to do is be a millionaire because somehow money's going to change everything. Mm-hmm. I know now that money's just a resource. At the time, I did.
It's a resource.
I was like, our whole life would be different. We have money. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I want to be a millionaire. And one of the biggest things you learn in network marketing is that most millionaires own real estate or in real estate somehow. That's the quickest way to get the money. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do that. But it wasn't until maybe like it might have been 2019. I think it's when I started looking into wholesaling and learning what that is. And just learning that there were different ways to make money in real estate. I didn't know. I thought you just could be an agent and sell houses and that's how you make your millions. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know about real estate investing. I didn't know about remodeling homes and selling them or buying homes. I didn't know about any of that stuff. So I learned about it. I listened to a bunch of podcasts, but Max Maxwell is a guy. I watched a lot of his videos and learned a lot about wholesaling. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. Mm-hmm. But ultimately my goal is to be a landlord and just own apartment buildings. Okay. That's something that just spoke to me when I started to learn about the different ways to invest in real estate. I was like, wait, I can own an apartment building? That would be lit. Because I grew up in apartments most of my life. And one of the things that I would have appreciated is if somehow it was more like when I was younger, there was more community in the apartment buildings. Everybody looked out for each other, fed each other, whatever needed to be done, watched each other kids. But as we got older, you didn't see a lot of that. And I was like, I wonder if I could own an apartment building and encourage that type of environment within the people, within that space. And maybe as a landlord, host events and get other landlords in the community to do community events for everyone. And I was like, I don't know if that's possible, but I love the way that looked in my mind. And I was like, I would have appreciated that as a kid. I know my mom would have appreciated that. And I was like, I want to do that, So that's kind of what made me want to do that's why I wanted to become a landlord. Okay. And so that's where the real estate investment kind of started, is the want to be a landlord. So I was like, okay, well, apparently wholesaling is a good way to make money so that you can then pour it into buying a property and stuff like that. And I was doing a lot of research. Once the pandemic hit, I kind of stopped a little bit, but then I picked back up once I got my license. And I was like, okay, we're back at it. We got the license. We can go show these homes. That's money coming in, but also I get to see what these houses look like. I get to see what people are looking for. And I get to go. So I work in the Baltimore area. So I was like, okay, I get to go and see the properties there and see what everything looks like. And I get investors sometimes that come with me to look at houses. So I get to ask them questions.
You get to pick their brain.
See what they're looking for. Oh my God. It's like, well, I get to do this every day. So,
so you were wholesaling in Baltimore?
So I was looking to wholesale in Baltimore. Okay. I never actually made a deal because I was too nervous. But I did some cold calls and that was cool. But I never actually went through it. And I took programs and a few mastermind courses and I just never really launched it. Mm-hmm. I let just life and other stuff distract me. So I didn't start getting back into the investment side until this year with working with Redfin, because then just being able to show those houses and have investors that kind of got that spirit, that fire was lit again. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's right. That's one of the things we want to do is own an apartment and do a buy and hold. So I'm still learning that. I think it's next week, I'm going to a generational wealth conference in Atlanta. And that's going to have a lot of real estate panelists and financial planners and stuff, and just everyone that's in that investment space. So I'm excited because, as you know, with conferences, you go in there, you get wrapped up, you get information, you get numbers and stuff, and then you go home and hopefully apply it and get going. So yeah, so that's the next step after that.
So as far as your dream of having an apartment, how many units would you like to manage,
or at least start off with?
I'm gonna start with a 4 unit because that still is, because that's not commercial space. That keeps me in the personal space realm, and then I could like live in one, which would be neat. And it just seems like something I can manage. So either a duplex, triplex, or a 4 unit is ideal. And then I'll look at some of the larger stuff once I get more experience.
Have you been looking at Baltimore for that duplex?
I have. So there is a group. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on their name? No, Charm City Buyers. Okay. Yeah, so I've been following them. They're so excellent. Like, I'm gonna pay for some of their tours because like the free stuff, just I got so much education out of it. I was like, I gotta do this because one of the things I saw, like how DC changed when, people came in, bought up the property, this and that. And I was like, ooh, I want to get on this. I was too young and definitely not educated enough to get in on that. But I saw what it looked like. And so I was like, okay, well, I still want to do that. And so, there was talks of Baltimore being that space where you could do that. And I was like, well, I want to make sure I do things the right way. Like, I'm coming over here to put more back into the area, not remove resources, right? And so what I love about Charm City Buyers is that I believe they're from Baltimore. So like why I love watching them and learning from them is because technically I'm a transplant. I'm from DC. I don't know how Baltimore moved. And I don't want to come in there and accidentally, pull resources out because I'm just doing whatever my mentor is telling me. I want to make sure that when I go there, I'm able to be helpful. I'm in there investing in the real estate there, but with the purpose to help the community that I'm investing, in. So I like them because that allows me to learn more and make sure I'm doing things the right way. So when I can get my first property and my multiple properties after that, I'm doing things that actually helps the community and it's not like just pulling resources out of it.
So what was the motivation as far as choosing Baltimore as your main spot of investment?
It was close and the houses were cheap. That was initially, I'm learning more now. So there's different reasons, but I was like, oh, all right, I can get a whole apartment building for like 300,000. I get 4 units. That's crazy. So that was like, that's what got me. But then I was like, okay, there's still more you need to learn and understand, to make sure that even seems like, a good idea or whatever.
I think Baltimore has a lot of good programs too. The city of Baltimore has a lot of good programs to incentivize people to buy it because they have so many vacants. So it is a great place, if you want to be an investor to start off at, compared to like PG County, which, there's nothing going on, no programs from my understanding.
So Baltimore altogether there's less roadblocks as far as kind of getting involved in.
I don't know about the roadblocks perspective, but I do know that they're incentivizing people to come and invest in the city because they need it right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to take advantage of all of those programs if I can.
I hear you.